Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2019 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport. Up front is a 3.6 liter V6, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video here today because I've driven a fair amount of Jeeps here on the channel, a fair amount of Wranglers here on the channel. But most recently, I've been doing a lot of press vehicles, meaning vehicles given to me by the manufacturer. And when that happens, they always give me the top trim, fully loaded models, like the 392 that was over $100,000, or the Wrangler 4xe that was over $70,000. And so today, we're taking a look at the Wrangler Unlimited Sport, which is a very, very basic trim level. And this current vehicle is for sale right now for just around $20,000. And so we're going to be taking a look to see what you get on the used market for about $20K. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. Last but not least, huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for letting me borrow their Jeep Wrangler for today's video. If you'd like to browse their inventory, you can do so down in the description below. But let's get back to that 3.6 liter V6 under the hood. Well, that has been the bread and butter engine from Jeep since 2012. The predecessor to this was the 3.8 liter V6, and the predecessor to that was the 4 liter straight 6. The 3.6 liter Pentastar is far from my favorite engine. However, it works very well, and it does the job it sets out to do. It's fine, it handles it, and that's pretty much it. Most Jeeps that you see will have this engine, especially in this JL configuration. Now, there was a smaller 2-liter turbo available, as well as, of course, the higher trim 392 had the 6.4-liter V8, but most of them got this. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. That was, again, new for the JL that debuted in 2018, and it's nice. You know, actually, this is a very noticeable difference, and it is very kind around town. It's not jittering like the old 4 speeds and 6 speeds once did. Last but not least, about the drivetrain, of course, all Wranglers of the JL generation are 4-wheel drive. How does it feel to drive the Jeep Wrangler JL? Well, fans of the channel will know that it is far from my favorite activity. Jeeps don't handle all that great, but they make up for it for what they're able to do. The 4-wheel drive systems on these vehicles are very good. The ground clearance is great. And so if you're driving off-road, they're wonderful. If you're using this vehicle to commute, I can't recommend anything less than a Jeep Wrangler as a daily driver. Can you daily drive them? Yes. Will you like daily driving them? Most likely not. There are people that do it. Obviously, a lot of people daily drive Jeep Wranglers. But I truly believe that they just kind of have their heads in the clouds, or they haven't driven many other vehicles for long periods of time to realize that the Wrangler is a tough experience. Again, driving it out in the desert, taking the top off, this vehicle has many, many benefits, but driving on the road in town is far from one of them. Visibility is okay, ride quality is bad, steering is not great. It is what it is. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 2 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is the tachometer, off to the right is the speedometer, and that screen in the center gives you a bunch of information. This is still the modern screen in the brand new 2026 JL Wrangler, so even if you're buying a 2019, you're still going to feel and have the newest tech. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our phone options. And off to the right, we have our cruise control. To the left of the steering wheel, we do get a climate control vent. We get headlight switch and gauge dimmer switch. And moving out of the door, we have our power mirrors and latch to get in and out with the lock and unlock, but that's it. The window switches are not found here. Moving into the center, we do get a small infotainment display. We also get 2 climate vents around it. The infotainment is fine. It is a little bit small, especially by modern standards. Upper trims had bigger center screens. However, I've seen people retrofit the bigger screen onto vehicles like this, so that might be a possibility if this really bothers you. It does have a backup camera per government requirement. However, down at the sport trim, it's not very helpful. It is what it is. Then we do get some physical buttons for for our climate controls and volume sort of mixed in here. We do still retain dual zone climate. Even at the lower sport trim level, we get dual zone, which is very nice. Automatic start stop on and off, traction control on and off, and of course hill descent control. And moving down, we have our window switches, 12-volt outlet, our media, which is a USB-C and USB-A. Very forward thinking for 2019 to have a USB-C, which is now so commonplace. It's going to help the Jeep feel not as dated. And we have 4 auxiliary switches. These can be wired in for additional lights, a winch. I've seen it work as an air compressor. All of those things can just be wired to these factory switches, so it looks nice in the cabin. Moving into the center console, we have the transmission shifter off to the right and our 4-wheel drive shifter off to the left to either keep it in 2, put it in 4 high, or 4 low. Then we do get the handbrake and cup holders. We'll do a big friggin' bottle test, and it fails. No one's surprised. But we do get a little slot in between the cup holders that is for the key, which is very, very nice. Dual opening center console. You can open the top or the bottom, and the seats. The seats are cloth. They are manual. They are incredibly basic, and so nothing to brag about. Here they are. These are the seats in a Wrangler. I hope you enjoy them. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats. So let's go do a back seat review. All right, getting in the back of the Wrangler. Open it like that, step up and in, and there you go. We are in the back of the Wrangler. We do get to enjoy the hardtop from within. We have giant speakers in front of our face. We have a light. I guess that's kind of nice, but the space is not fantastic. This is my driving position, so the driver could move up a little bit to give some more space. But as you can see, it's not super comfortable. Now, this is the 4-door version. They did still sell a 2-door. They still sell a 2-door Wrangler, but honestly, it's a lot less popular. Almost no one buys the 2-doors anymore. So this is going to be the most common way to find a Wrangler for the JL generation. And so even the back seats aren't fantastic. That's why I usually tend to lean people towards other SUVs that are going to be better to drive and have better back seats. But if you want that Jeep capability, this is kind of the only way to do that. We do have climate vents. Very nice. You could flip those around like the old Pontiac ones. Then you have window switches here, some cup holders. No center console. Nothing really to note back here. It's fine. Do I love it? No. Would I want to spend a road trip back here? No, but I also wouldn't want to spend a road trip in a Wrangler. So I guess that's fair to say. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, coming around the back of the Wrangler, and as you can see, they actually put the backup camera right in the middle of the spare tire, which is kind of funny. But you just have a normal opening door over here, and then you can pull this rear window up to give you actually pretty easy access into the back of the Jeep. Now, these are the all-weather floor mats. These will go to the next owner. Nothing too crazy here. You can pull this up. And I have legitimately gotten this question before. Someone has commented on Jeep videos in the past and said, Zach, it's crazy that you don't get a spare tire under the floor mat of your Jeep. And to them I say, yeah. Anyway, one more thing back here, one more fun little Easter egg, is that it actually has some dimensions and a nice little plaque here for the JL generation of Jeep. They are built in Toledo, Ohio, developed in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So very, very cool, very American there. And there you go. That's the trunk space of a 2019 Jeep Wrangler. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I like the look of the Wrangler. I think I've always liked the look of the Wrangler. This car was actually purchased from down south, so it is a very clean example as well. Even though it has 85,000 miles, this is really probably the first time it's seen road salt, which I do feel a little bit bad about, but it's a very clean Jeep. And that's not easy to find, especially up here in the Midwest. I like it. You know, it's very plain and basic. I'm sure at some point in this life, this thing will be chucked onto giant wheels and tires and have the bumpers cut off and all that. But this is just the simple, regular Jeep. And of course, this one does have the hard top on it. However, you could find them with soft tops. The Sport normally came with a soft top, but this one has the optional hard top. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the 2019 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sport? Well, I like it a lot, and here's why. I don't like how it drives. I've never, ever really enjoyed driving a Jeep, at least the modern one. I've enjoyed driving some of the vintage stuff. I think that oftentimes can be pretty cool, but I don't really enjoy driving these. I don't think they handle well enough, especially for a modern car. So many other SUVs are going to be way more comfortable on the road, and I feel like people are often better left to drive those day to day and maybe get like a Subaru Outback Wilderness so you can hit the trails once or twice a year, but you're not punishing yourself the other 362 days. However, at this price point, this Jeep starts to become a lot more enticing. For $20,000, it starts to make a lot more sense, and it starts to actually feel more like what it was supposed to feel like, because brand new, this was probably a $40,000 Jeep, somewhere around there, and you don't get a lot of amenities for that. You have manual seats, and you have cloth seats. This has the optional hard top, but that's not always a given. The smaller radio would bother me up at $40,000, but now, well, that makes sense. This is more of a Jeep. You could buy this for, all things considered, decently cheap. 20 grand for a 6-year-old car is not that bad. This still feels and looks modern. The gauge cluster is still the exact same as the new one. The interior buttons and feel is still the exact same as the new one. This feels like a brand new Jeep. If I closed my eyes while driving, which I wouldn't recommend, I would imagine that I'm in a 2026 Jeep, and there's nothing really in here to prove that otherwise besides just knowing the sticker. So now this is what a base model Jeep today should be, even though it's a couple years old. Relatively reliable, that's the same V6, same drivetrain, same features, but for a lot more affordable price. And now I could take this off-road and feel less bad about it. I could purchase this and maybe get something else to daily drive. That's when the Wrangler really makes sense. If you use the Wrangler in certain circumstances when it dictates it, you're gonna love your Wrangler. But if you're forced to be behind the wheel of this every single day, you're gonna like it a lot less. And so this might be the most Jeepy Jeep I've Jeeped in a Jeepin' minute. And that's pretty nice to see. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to North Naperville Autos for letting me borrow their Jeep Wrangler for today's video. I also did a comparison to a JKU Wrangler, so if you want to see that video, check that out on my channel. North Naperville Autos is fantastic. They always have cool and interesting inventory. They are Carfax certified, they offer shipping and financing, and they are just quite frankly the bee's knees. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.